Have you ever experienced when your mind just starts to go crazy and it feels super overwhelming with the amount of thoughts that you've got racing around up in your head? So much so to the point that you start actually feeling it in your body. You become very aware in that moment that even though we think that the head and the body are quite disconnected, that those thoughts racing around like crazy can make you feel heavy or make you feel tense, where you need to just stretch or shake it out. This is a form of mental fatigue, and it comes from the inability to focus our attention consciously and intentionally. I'll give you a little analogy that hit me over the weekend when we were on a walk. Snow had just fallen freshly on the ground, and we came across this street that was lined with these beautiful trees, and all of them pristine with a perfect trunk going up and spreading their branches. But there was one tree in the row that had lots of little trees coming up from the base. And I immediately thought back to gardening with my mother. Because I can remember when I was little, we had these beautiful trees in the yard, and I was looking at one of them and there were all of these little baby trees coming up from the base, and I said, "Oh, look how happy he is, right? Like he's sending up new trees." And my mom actually corrected me. She said, "Actually, these are something that we call suckers. They actually suck the nutrients away from the main tree because it indicates that the tree is stressed out. That actually there's a fear that it won't be able to sustain the main trunk, and so the roots start to go, oh, maybe we need to start sending up some future replacements." Do you get where I'm going with this? At least I grew up with the idea that thinking a lot was a good thing. Actually, to ponder something, to turn it again and again over in my mind, and to make sure that I had thought about every angle and every aspect. But this, mistakenly, is not the idea that we are coming closer to a better solution. But often it's spurred on by stress and by a fear and by a lack of trust in ourselves to actually be able to sustain the creation of our own life. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with starting something new, but starting something new out of fear for what it is that we already have going, we know that that doesn't pay off. To begin things from fear instead of love is like starting something, sending up a new tree in this case, that is not one that is nurtured well, but instead it's actually sucking nutrients from the rest of our lives to try and bring something else out just for fear that we might not make it. So, the question that I asked myself and that I'm asking you is, where right now do you see the suckers? Do you see those places where you've convinced yourself that, no, thinking over this is a good thing, but instead you feel it in your body that it is stressing you out, that it is not actually supportive, but it's coming from a place of fear? And the kicker in this is a bit counterintuitive, because it is not to reject those suckers, those crazy mental patterns, but instead it's to refocus. It's to focus on getting this, the center of who we are, healthy. To remind ourselves of that which we want to create instead of that which we're afraid of. So how can you use your suckers, your mental drains, in order to refocus, to put your attention and your love and your energy back onto the things that you want to create in this life?